If you've been on any tech website recently, you've probably seen this, and this, and even this. Samsung Galaxy Ring wearer is hospitalized and denied boarding on a flight after the battery in his device started swelling. And that someone was none other than your friendly neighborhood Daniel. Yeah, I never expected this thing to blow up as much as it did. As I'm recording this video, my tweets about my Galaxy Ring battery swelling are at close to 50 million views combined. I've had news channels reach out to me for interviews, dozens of friends and creators messaging me. It's been crazy. I'm not sure how I feel about us getting this much attention for what was technically an accident rather than, a career achievement. Yeah, it feels weird. Also, some of these articles have exaggerated things a bit too much. So here's the whole story, split into 4 chapters. Part 1, before the incident. Part 2, the incident. Part 3, after the incident. And Part 4, my final thoughts and my advice for anyone potentially having these issues with a smart ring. So, Part 1, before the incident. For those of you who don't know, there are plenty of smart rings out there, with the most popular ones being Aura, Ultrahuman, and of course, Samsung's own Galaxy Ring. These rings can track your heart rate, your steps, your body temperature, even your oxygen level. They're basically a smartwatch without a screen. Perfect for people who don't like wearing smartwatches. Now, I got my Galaxy Ring in question back in January when I attended the Galaxy S25 Samsung Unpacked event in San Jose. Samsung gave me the ring as a review unit, and I've actually used it ever since. In fact, you can even see it across many of my previous videos. However, after the first month or so, I've noticed that the battery life started dropping pretty drastically. At first, it would last me for around 7 days, which was the advertised battery number, but 1 month in and it started dropping to about 2 to 3 days or so. And then it eventually dropped to 1.5 days or even a single day. So it was pretty bad. And because a ring takes extra effort to remove compared to a smartwatch, I just stopped charging it on a regular basis. I would still wear it daily, but I wouldn't charge it daily. So a lot of the times I was just wearing it without it being charged, as I simply got used to the way it looked, and I would only charge it every 2 to 3 weeks or so. At one point, I even went for a full month without charging it. Well, fast forward to the Galaxy Z Fold 7 launch, and that's when I started using it regularly again. But when I first charged it after a few weeks of not charging it, it didn't want to power on. I left it charging for an entire day, and still nothing. That thing was dead. Then I left it for another day to charge, and it finally powered on, and I was able to use it again. That to me was very strange. So I then Googled it, and it turned out that actually a lot of people were having similar issues with their Galaxy rings. Rings that would die very quickly, sometimes even in a matter of hours, or struggling to power on. And apparently after contacting Samsung, some of these users did get a free replacement, but that replacement ended up having the same battery issues again. So at that point, part of me was thinking that maybe this is some sort of firmware issue and that Samsung would fix this soon. So I started using my Galaxy Ring again, even though it did discharge in just like a day or a day and a half. So fast forward to September the 20th, and I was on my way to the Snapdragon Summit in Hawaii. I charged the ring before my trip, and then by the time I got to Hawaii, guess what? It was already dead. So for the entirety of my Snapdragon Summit and after, the Galaxy Ring was on my finger pretty much dead, which is an important detail to keep in mind. And during the Snapdragon Summit, I used it outside in about 28 degrees Celsius, so hot but not crazy hot. I also used it in the pool and also while swimming in the ocean. Now, I know some of you have said, oh, you should not have done that, but that's actually all fine. In fact, the Galaxy Ring is IPX8 water resistant. That's up to 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes, a length that I never exceeded. Samsung specifically claims fresh water, so it could be that salt water did have an impact here too, although normally that's not the case if you wash the product with fresh water right after exposure to salt water. And I've not been in salt water for more than 15 minutes, and I did wash it right after. Something that I always do with all of my water-resistant products, and I've never had any issues with any other tech products that are water-resistant before. Which brings me to the incident itself. The day was Monday the 29th, and it was time for me to go back home to Manchester in the UK. So I flew from Hawaii to San Francisco. I had a 7-hour layover there. Then I flew to Frankfurt, where I had another 7-hour layover, and then I was about to board my final flight to Manchester when I've noticed something weird just as we were boarding. My finger started hurting quite badly, so I tried taking off my Galaxy Ring, only to realize that I couldn't. And I also noticed that my finger was quite swollen up. And then I looked at my ring closely, and you know how it's got those two bumps that are the heart rate and oxygen sensors? Well, those two bumps looked big, like really big. And I was like, I don't remember them being that big. And then I realized that there were 4 bumps, and those 2 really big ones were on the opposite side of where the sensors are. So then I quickly Googled a teardown just to check, and my fear came true. Those 2 spikes were actually coming from where the battery was located, which made me immediately realize that I was experiencing the battery swelling in real time. That happening to my ring that was stuck to my finger was honestly quite scary, since I just could not take it off. And I could also feel it expand, like every few minutes it would constrict my finger more and more, and those 2 spikes that were made out of short plastic were digging into my finger more and more. So I went to the bathroom, I tried using water and soap to take it off, which I know you're not supposed to use water on an expanding battery, but what was I supposed to do? Like my flight was boarding and I wanted to get this thing off really quickly as it was hurting pretty badly. But sadly, water and soap didn't do anything. If anything, it made the battery swell even more, so it became even more painful. And that's when I posted a tweet about it, my first tweet. I tagged Samsung's accounts because I was hoping that maybe they knew of, I don't know, a simple trick to quickly get it off my finger. But when I saw that the response was not really helpful at all, I just went to the airport gate staff and I told them about what was happening, because I was worried about what would happen when we would be in mid-air. Like, I wasn't sure if the pressure would expand the battery even more and seriously damage my finger, or even worse, start a fire, which would then affect not just me, but possibly put the lives of everyone on the plane in danger as well. So what I did was I asked the airport staff for a nurse or doctor to come and see me to help me remove the ring from my finger so that I could then board my flight. The staff then immediately called the captain, as legally he had to be informed too, and the captain said that indeed I would not be allowed to board the flight unless I would be able to remove the ring from my finger, as this could cause an in-flight emergency. The airport staff then told me that unfortunately there was no medical staff nearby whatsoever, and I had to go to the airport clinic instead, as this was classified as a medical emergency. And that's what I did. I went through passport control, I exited the airport, and went to the airport clinic, which took about 30 to 40 minutes, if not even more. Yeah, not ideal when you've got a ring on your finger with an expanding battery. I then got to the clinic, which was actually closed. I'm not even kidding, it closed at 4. And there were only 2 nurses on site who told me to go to the nearest city hospital. Again, not ideal when you've got an expanding battery on your finger that was hurting more and more every minute that passed by. So I took an Uber to the nearest hospital, and once I was there, I told the staff what was happening. And in a few minutes, they brought me some ice to bring down the swelling and some sort of oil/lubricant. And yeah, the ring actually came off very easily. The whole process took about 5 minutes. So no, I was not hospitalized like some articles were saying. I never said that I was hospitalized. All I said was that I was sent to the hospital as an emergency case. And with that, the ring was finally off my finger, and I could immediately see the swollen battery, including the 2 spikes caused by it, which were digging into my finger right before. Which brings me to part 3, after the incident. With the ring off my finger, I went back to the airport, and the lovely staff booked me onto the next flight to Birmingham, as there were no more flights to Manchester that day. And while I was on the flight, Samsung called me. They asked me how I was doing, what happened, and also asked me if I could give them the ring to investigate further, to which I said, sure. They've also asked me if they could do anything for me, to which I've said if they could cover my overnight hotel stay in Birmingham and also arrange some sort of transportation for the following morning back home to Manchester, that'll be great. And yeah, they've happily agreed to that. That morning, a Samsung employee came to my hotel, collected the ring from me and the case, and shortly after, a car was there for me to take me back to Manchester. And after more than 50 hours of flying and traveling, I was finally back home. And that was pretty much it. I had one final chat with Samsung shortly after, who told me that they will keep me updated on any findings from the investigation, which I'll of course keep you guys updated as well. So in conclusion, I do think that this whole case has been blown out of proportion quite a bit, because I was not hospitalized. I was also not injured, and apart from a few marks on my finger, which I'm sure will heal in a few days, the biggest loss has really been my missed flights, and I guess all the stress coming out of that and the whole incident. Oh, and also causing a 40-minute delay for all the passengers. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. However, things could have gone way worse. If I hadn't been able to take this off my finger, the battery would have likely expanded more, and those two spikes could have dug into my finger, possibly causing some real damage. And of course, there's always the chance of a fire when it comes to expanding batteries, which could have seriously injured me or even the people around me. Thank God nothing like that happened. So what should you do if your SmartRing's battery starts expanding while it's on your finger? Well, first of all, I would say don't panic. Try and find some oil to basically take that off immediately. Don't use water and soap. I basically had no choice as my flight was literally boarding. Now, if you cannot take it off and you need to have it cut, make sure that it's not cut where the battery is, as that can start a fire. Also make sure that you don't cut where the sensors are, as those bits could go into your finger and injure you. There are 2 points on the Galaxy Ring where the ring can actually safely be cut into. Samsung does outline that on their website. I'm pretty sure Ultrahuman, Aura, they do the same, so just tell them to just cut there. So having said this, what's my message to Samsung? Well, personally, I do believe that there is some sort of battery issue going on with most Galaxy Rings out there, just by the sheer number of posts on Reddit. There's even one showing a similarly swollen Galaxy Ring battery from a few months ago. Even my fellow creator Parker Burton mentioned that he too was having battery issues with his own Galaxy Ring, with him having to go through 2 Galaxy Rings and them lasting him for less than a day.
And you guys know I love Samsung, but I gotta be honest, I have had 2 Galaxy Rings myself, and both of them have had battery issues. So some of you guys might remember this, but my first Galaxy Ring that I got randomly went from lasting about 5 days on a single charge to randomly lasting less than 1 day on a single charge. And so I hit up my contacts at Samsung, they had me send the ring back and sent me a brand new one, and guess what? The same exact issue happened with the new one.
That's not normal, and it looks like even with Samsung replacing the affected units, the replacements, they still have the exact same issue. Now, sure, they haven't all swollen. It's just been mine and this other one that's popped on Reddit, at least from all we know. But it is possible that under the right circumstances, like heat, salt water, overcharging, or not charging them enough, these already affected units would then start swelling too, which could injure their users. So it doesn't seem like the battery inside the Galaxy Ring behaves like a normal wearable battery should, which I do think is why Samsung should look into all of their Galaxy Ring batteries again and issue a major replacement program, replacing all affected rings with truly fixed ones. Look, I don't think they should discontinue the Ring because I think it is a good product for people who don't want to wear a smartwatch. It is a good alternative, so I do hope to see a second gen. And hopefully one that also has a quick removal mechanism in case of battery swelling, because otherwise, yeah, I won't be using another Ring again unless it has that quick removal system. But yeah, what's your take on smart rings and also on this whole incident? Let me know down below. I'm Daniel, this is ZONEofTECH, and yeah, stay tuned for, I guess, more updates as soon as I've got them. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.